Hey up! Ho ho ho! Out and about again. Look at this here coming up on the left, Kilmsey Crag. Look at that there. How do you fancy rappelling off of that then, eh? Ho ho ho! Not me, no chance. But they do, from time to time. So, as you can see here, out and about on the old Royal Enfield Classic 650. And got Colin behind me there on his BSA Goldstar. I was going to bring my Goldstar out today. Mine's the Highland Green one, Colin's is the black. But this was the first bike I came to, and the Goldstar in another part of the garage, so further back. So I'm a lazy bugger. Yeah, I've had the Goldstar exactly a year now, and of course the insurance came up for renewal, and I got quite an interesting an email or a letter. I think it would an email. I got an email from Bennett's that the Goldstar was insured with on a separate policy, because they couldn't put it on the multi-bike policy for whatever reason. And if memory serves, it cost me about £200, but they sent me an email, did Bennett, saying, no, I'm afraid we can't offer you a quote for your bike this year. I thought, that's a bit bloody odd. What do you mean you can't offer me a quote, a renewal? Can't offer you a renewal? I thought that's a bit odd. Anyway, it was a good 6 weeks or so before the renewal fell due, and then a couple of days afterwards I get I think it was a text. I got a text from Bennett saying, oh, you may have received a letter or an email from us stating that we're unable to offer you a renewal. However, this is not the case, and if you give us a call, we'll give you a quote. I thought, it's a bit bloody odd, is that? And bearing in mind the bloody issues I had with Bennett's when I tried to insure this bike, when it were hot on the shelf and not on the databases, and Bennett's couldn't help me, but Bike Show could. So I thought, right, bollocks to it. 1 minute telling me I can have a renewal, next minute telling me I can't. What a carry on. So I thought, bollocks to it. So I went on the old money supermarket, and I put the details in for the Goldstar and my profile, obviously. And sure, best quote that came back was Bike Show, £157, 157 quid to insure the BSA Goldstar on its own. Now, of course, I had this bike insured with Bike Show as well. So anyway, so I rang them up with the intention of paying the £157, and very, very helpful, as Bike Show always are, and said, well, shall we have a look at the difference in cost between that 157 and actually putting the BSA Goldstar on a multi-bike policy with this here bike? So I said, yeah, try it. Right, we'll ring you back. So they rang me back within the hour, Bike Show, and they basically said, yeah, you can have a multi-bike policy, but it's £465 a year. Well, this bike in isolation's 200, and the Goldstar in isolation's 157. So, like, go figure. That's a no-brainer, isn't it? So that didn't take me long. But they did say, oh, we've had to look at another company, because the company that you've had this bike with, the Classic 650, whereas they do multi-bike policies, they won't do this bike and a BSA Goldstar. I thought, well, the two bikes are similar enough. In fact, almost identical in terms of power and sort of size. But no, they couldn't help me with that, so they'd had to go to another company, and cheapest I could get were 465 quid, so I just said, look, I'll insure the Goldstar separately, and here's 157 quid. I don't pay monthly on insurance, so I always pay it annually. So I just I paid me sovereigns, me guineas, hey, and yeah, got it covered. That were a bit of a rum-do from Bennett's, wasn't it? I still have a multi-bike policy with Bennett's for the FJR and the Moto Guzzi V7. Anyway, just a little tale about the idiosyncrasies of getting motorcycle insurance in this day and age. Look at this, isn't it beautiful? Some moody clouds about and some dappled sunlight in these here tree-lined corridors. And we're just coming up to Arncliffe here, lovely little village, lovely little pub here called the Falcon. But we're going to be hanging a right just here, and the Falcon's down there. But a quaint little place, Arncliffe. The church here, Arncliffe Crag up there. Beautiful. Look at that. Hey. Yeah, look at these lucky people living there. So now it's getting a bit duller. I've swapped the cameras round, so I've got this GoPro Hero 13 now as the bike mounted camera, facing my big fat ugly face. And I've got the Insta 360 Ace Pro 2. Oh, look at this here, a bit of water, don't like that, don't like getting bikes wet, do we? Big Norman doesn't like getting too wet, there's too much to polish. Because it's starting to get a bit duller and there's less light or lower light, the main camera I'm using, the Insta 360 Ace Pro 2. I've got an ND8 on just to bring it down a tad. But the colour profiles on the Insta 360 slightly different, and you may notice that. Now I do some colour grading with this setup to try and balance the two cameras. If I were running two GoPros or two Instas, I wouldn't need to bother with that. But it's not essential to balance the two cameras in that sense, because probably 90% of the footage is what you see unfolding before you now. And there's sort of around about 10% which is cutaways to my big fat face. Hey! So it's not a showstopper, but I just think it's nice just to sort of try and balance things out a little bit with colour grading. But it is quite a lengthy process. I mean, editing in and of itself is a lengthy process. Can be a bit painstaking at times, particularly with two cameras. Throw a third camera in. Oh. You're talking about 4K files, which are big. And put 3 feeds in from 3 different cameras, and it can get lengthy because it uses up an awful lot of RAM on the computer, and B, it gets complicated keeping everything synchronised. I won't go into the detail of it, it's all a bit anorak, and I'm no expert, but over the years I've sort of learnt the tricks of the trade with my particular editing software, which is Filmora at Wondershare, which has its quirks, it has to be said. And every time there is a software update, which is fairly frequent to be fair, but I some time ago I bought the lifetime license, so I get all the updates for free. But even when you get a software update, you can get rid of one little annoying little quirk and inherit a new one. So mixed fortunes. Of course, this is Littondale, and the next village we encounter, therefore, will be Litton, and then Haltongill, and then we'll stop alongside Pennygent, because I brought a bit of snap with me. Now, I hope you didn't find that last video I did too depressing. I still have some concerns about the downturn in performance of this channel, but it's very much a concern born of mixed feelings. I mean, on the one hand, absolutely delighted to have in excess of 22,000 subscribers. Here we are, Lytton. But on the other hand, a little bit alarmed to see such a sudden cliff edge fall off in the number of subscriptions. So I'll say again, you might get tired of me saying this, but I've got to say it. Please check, if you think you're subscribed, please double check that you are, because you might have been unsubscribed by some dark, devious, troublemaking algorithm somewhere. Alright, thank you. Yeah, some water in that river as well, for once. Yeah, so please check your subscription status, and if you're not subscribed, please would you consider subscribing? It's my lifeblood. It's all I ask. Totally free. Won't cost you a penny, not now, not ever. But it absolutely is the lifeblood of this channel. So yeah, I hope it wasn't too dark and depressing, but I'm becoming more and more convinced that the world, and particularly sadly this country, which has a proud history of being free and tolerant, and I can see that rapidly disappearing. There is definitely a concerted effort, certainly on the part of the legacy media, mainstream media, particularly the tabloid press, be it printed or online, to sow seeds of division. And of course, as we all know, a divided society is a weakened society, a conquered society. Divide and conquer. That, my good friends out there, is exactly what the mainstream media, or certain elements of it, depending upon how you define mainstream, and certain elements of the establishment to boot. And don't fall for it. You gotta know propaganda when you see it, and I do, because I used to be part of an organisation that put it out from time to time. Oh, that'll offend some people, but when you think about what propaganda actually is, I can think of quite a few occasions when organisations I've worked for have put things out there that you couldn't really describe better in any other way. Yeah, they say that all the world's a stage. Isn't that from Shakespeare? All the world's a stage. Certainly is at the moment. The only trouble is the actors on the stage all appear to be a complete set of bell ends. Hey! And have been for the last several years, right up to and including today. Bell ends at every turn on the world stage, just looking after their own interests, feathering their own nests, and feed. Halton Gill up there. Yes, that's what's happening. So this is probably the most scenic part of this part of the ride, so I'm going to shut my fat mouth now and let you enjoy this incredible landscape. I'll speak to you in a bit. There we go, Penny Ghent, one of the Yorkshire Three Peaks, the other two being Whernside and Ingleborough. Very moody backdrop. Aye. Right, just had a stretch of the old legs, but it's absolutely nithering cold up here. Must be a good 7-8 degrees colder up here than it is down in the valley. But there you go, beautiful sight of Penny Ghent. Stunning. Right. So this road takes us down into Stainforth, and then we'll go to Settle. Partake of a bit of snap in Settle because it's too cold up here. Hee. Yeah, so I was saying basically the world's a very interesting place at the moment. It might be a very worrying place, but I suppose on some perverse level it's all rather interesting. And I never ever thought, when I first started sort of doing the YouTube thing half seriously, I never ever thought that I'd actually be concerned about what I said. And now I am. Now I think long and hard now about what I say on these videos. I've always said, many times before, people all over the world, people, not governments, they all just want the same thing, don't they? That's all we all want. Is a decent, comfortable, fulfilling life, a decent job, a roof over our heads that's safe and secure, and that we can own, and good public services, a future for the younger generations, for your kids. I would suggest that's all 99.999 recurring percent of people the world over want. And yet it all gets absolutely trashed by the other 0.00000 endless zeros 1%. How can that possibly be right? And it doesn't matter to me who you are, what your beliefs are, what your background is, where you come from, what your culture is. Couldn't care less, providing you're a good person, or you try your best to be a good person. Through your tenure in life, then that's all that matters as far as I'm concerned. We're all human beings at the end of the day.